Hey everybody, MrAyrit here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a headphone review for you today. One from a brand that I've been wanting to try out for a while. So this is the DCA Dan Clark Audio Aeon Closed X. So this is the drop version of that headphone. And you know, DCA is an interesting brand. And if you're not familiar, it used to be Mr. Speakers, hence the hard little kind of semi-hard case here that says Mr. Speakers on it. He kind of got his start modding T50RPs, and then now he's got this full-on Dan Clark Audio brand, which seems to be producing some pretty decent headphones from my understanding, but this is the first time I've had a chance to try one. So let's take a look at the Aeon Closed X, and we can kind of like discuss some of these things. Number one, I mean, what you're going to notice about these headphones is just they are very uniquely styled. They are extremely lightweight. You know, plastic here. I don't know if this is real carbon fiber. I kind of doubt it, but you know, kind of a faux carbon fiber. I would assume it's a faux carbon fiber anyway. But you know, it does look really cool, really unique. It has, you know, it's got a character, but it's not overdone or gaudy or anything like that. It's really very subtle and very nice. The cups here are suspended, you know, from the back. They have a swivel, you know, back and forth like that. And then you've got a suspension system here with like a spring steel band. And I really like the build of these, and just, you know, the feel of them is great. Big, cushy, comfy pads. The suspension strap works well. Just a really nicely put together headphone that's not, you know, the typical build. I would say it's something a little bit special. I feel like it's something a little unique, and you know, I always appreciate that. Again, the weight, I can't overstate like the lightness of this. And you know, I really think what they're going for here is for an all-day closed back headphone. And I would assume, you know, the open versions of these are, again, they're going for an all-day headphone, and that's going to be another thing to keep in mind when we start talking about the sound. Before we do that, let's look at some of the accessories that these come with. So, of course, you've got the little hard case here where these guys, you know, fit right in there, and, you know, no problems there. I always appreciate having, you know, nice little case. I also just appreciate the fact that this case is like not huge, so it's one that you would actually be able to use and like throw in some luggage or even like a briefcase or something like that, maybe, right? So nice little case here. It's pretty generic. You know, you see these with like Sivga stuff and kind of several other brands, but you know, it's nice. It's no problems with that, right? The other thing that these guys come with that's rather unique is a set of tuning pads here. So they do include these, so you can tweak the sound a little bit to your preferences, to your listening levels, to your equipment that you're using, to your genres that you like to listen to. So I think this is a pretty cool feature, and I wish, you know, more headphones would do stuff like this, because it does make a difference. And again, we'll talk more about that when we get to sound. The last thing to mention would be the cable. I mean, nothing real remarkable here. It's a cloth cable. It's pretty stiff, but you know, it's serviceable. The big thing of note here is that these DCA headphones seem to all have this kind of like push-pull connector. I mean, it works fine. I don't really have any complaints about it. Again, just when headphone companies use these proprietary headphone cabling connectors, it just kind of is a bummer as far as finding aftermarket cables. You know, I mean, that would be the downside of having a special connector like this, is just that it's not going to be super easy or cheap to replace the cable, and you're not going to be able to use something that you just have lying around for other headphones, more than likely. So all of the build and that stuff out of the way here. I mean, all in all, great build, great design, nicely accessorized package. What's it sound like? The sound for these, I mean, I'm a little bit torn on these. They definitely aren't bad. There's nothing about these headphones that stand out to me as like a glaring flaw. Certainly some combinations of tuning pads don't suit my preferences, but that's the beauty of tuning pads, right? Is that you can tweak the sound to make it kind of how you want it to be. So depending on your setup, you can turn it into a darker, bassier headphone. Depending on how you set it up, you can make it a pretty bright headphone that has a lot of sparkle and sharpness in the top end. And of course, depending on the combination, you can kind of mellow it out and have a nice in-between sound that's a pretty smooth listen. So all in all, I would say that they're, when tuned the way I want them to be tuned, which I had 3 tunings that I thought worked for me. One was the black one was the black felt with the one notch white pad. One was just no filters or anything in there at all, and one was just the white filtered pad, just the one notch. The 2-notch one made it too bassy and dark for me, with whatever combination I tried that with. So I wasn't a fan of those, but maybe somebody would be. I would say all of the tunings with the white 1-notch pads, those are all kind of more mellow, more balanced, less intensity in the top end with those. And then fully open is a more treble leaning presentation, but still not as hot as just the black pads, which is interesting to me. So I was able to get it to a good, smooth, mellow listen. And while it was a sound that I could appreciate and I thought was reasonably well detailed and had a decent timbre to it, I don't feel like this headphone is ever super well extended on either end. And I also don't feel like when I say, it has like a pretty solid sound signature and nothing stands out to me as bad, nothing really stands out to me as remarkable either. So in that regard, I don't think this sound offers anything particularly special, but it also isn't bad. And when you're thinking about an all-day headphone, that might really be the sound that you're trying to go for. So I can definitely see people picking up this headphone for a work headphone, right? Where you've got some decent isolation going on once you get them on your head, and you can get it tuned to where it's not going to be too intense or too sharp or too demanding of your attention, but you can get it set up so it's just kind of a nice background, mellow, smooth sound that you can enjoy while you're plugging away at the office, and doing your work. So I could definitely see this headphone fitting that niche very, very, very well between its sound and its comfort. But I don't know that it's going to be a headphone that really is going to be like a sit down and listen and like give your full attention to it type of headphone. You can do that and you're going to be able to pick out quite a bit of detail, and it's going to be an enjoyable listen, but it's not going to, for me, it doesn't engage me like something on the lines of, like the HE6, or even I have the Bayer Dynamic 17.7X Go, which is another closed back that would be in the ballpark of the price range of this, and it has a more V shape, more bass, a little more excitement, a little more detail, I would say, a little better separation and imaging, whereas this, I feel like it's a pretty right and left headphone. I don't feel like things are particularly super well separated, but again, it's adequate. It's not bad. It just doesn't stand out to me, the sound, in any real particular way. And yeah, I mean, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. I can see, I don't want this to come off as a bad review. It's definitely not. I think a lot of people would enjoy this headphone, again, especially if you're looking for an all-day listen background work headphone. I think this is one you should 100% look at. Again, the special thing about these is the lightweight, the comfort, and the design is just all phenomenal across the board. The sound, not as much. But with the inclusion of the tuning pads, I think there's a very good chance that you could get this to a sound that you would appreciate and that you could enjoy and use a lot of the time. Driving them, you probably are going to want some type of amplification with them. They're not they are planar, and they aren't the easiest thing in the world to drive, but I wouldn't say you need anything like crazy. So any sort of, you know, all-in-one DAC amp or something like that, you're probably going to be fine. I don't know about driving these straight out of like a dongle or something like that. I don't know that you're really going to get what you want out of them. So I would just caution you with that as well. But, you know, if you got something like a full of 4 or, you know, $100 stack or $200 stack, you know, I think you're going to be fine in this regard. I did most of my listening with my X-Can and with my Bifrost to my Singzer amplifier, and it sounded good and clean and smooth with all of those things. I just, again, don't think that the sound just didn't make a huge impression on me one way or another. And yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. Good overall headphone, just not crazy remarkable in the sound department, and that might be okay for a lot of people. So, questions, comments, other additional or alternative opinions of the DCA Closed X, you know, feel free to drop those down below. Get a dialogue going. I'm happy to engage in that regard, and you know, I'll definitely drop a link too for these over at Drop, which is where they come from. But you know, I would just say also, you know, keep an eye open on the used market. I think these are under 400 new now, which is a pretty decent deal. I would say these would be right in competition with something like an Elegia. And probably, you know, from what I remember, the Elegia, not a terribly different sound signature, but, you know, it's been a long time since I've heard the Elegia. So I'm starting to ramble. We better just end this video before I keep going too much. But yeah, all in all, decent headphone. I'd be interested to try some more stuff from DCA to see what those have to offer. Thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next one.